Yeah, and that's why I am such a champion for like a good community and
Mm-hmm.
people that you can put in your corner, whether that is somebody that you can call, vent
Mm-hmm.
and work through it, or somebody that can just kind of call you out and just say, "Hey man, just take 5 minutes. Let's do some deep breathing exercises.
Mm-hmm.
Let's kind of let's kind of reset our mind right now and focus on the things that we can control, focus on the things that
Mm-hmm.
are within our grasp right now, because I know for me a lot of the things that make me anxious are things that are outside of my control, and they're
Mm-hmm.
outside of the realm of possibilities for me to control. And
Yeah.
so a lot of it is me placing faith into other people and the circumstances of whatever that makes me anxious, to say everything's going to end up working out. Even like you said, like 9 times out of 10 it will end up working out.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Infinite Abilities Podcast. I am your host, Nick Yerhart, and we are here to encourage each other to find our own unique abilities. Let's go. All right, everyone. So today I have Josh, and he's got a lot to share, so I'll just let him get right into it. So, Josh, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I am the founder of a multimedia nonprofit called Victims and Villains. We create content and we do events to talk about mental health through pop culture. We do a variety of things ranging from just vending and doing panels at Comic Cons and horror cons, and then we do a little bit more intricate stuff, like we host our own music events, we host our own film festival, and then we also create like weekly podcasts and YouTube content as well, that is all geared towards using those as platforms to talk about mental health and mental health education, connecting people to the right resources, etc.
That's awesome, and thank you for what you do. You know, it's so important, especially nowadays. You know, and I like seeing more and more people, come out and get help for their mental health. You know, it's really nice to see more and more people doing that.
Thanks, Nick. Victims actually started as a exercise in me essentially wanting to have healthy mental health. We started out just as a podcast. It was me and my friend Sean, and I was going through a really just crappy season in my life, and podcasting kind of gave me an hour a week to hang out with one of my best friends and feel close and just kind of escape and geek out. And about 6 months into it, we kind of started gearing out to start to sketch the skeleton of what would eventually become to what we are now, kind of expanding upon things involving mental health education, and conversation, and vulnerability and stuff like that.
That's so awesome. And, you kind of touched on it. It's like a lot of times we go through a difficult time ourselves, and we find something that helps us, and then we go out and share that with more people, so then they can get help also. So yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah, my thing for what's helped my mental health has shifted over the years. So when I was a teenager, my big outlet for my mental health was creating music, and also attending concerts and music based events. And music is part of the reason that I'm still living. I was really just didn't want to be here anymore, and there is an album called Define the Great Line by a band called Under Oath, and it was something that just got me through. And remember one Friday night not wanting to be here anymore and listening to the last song on that album, and I felt like it was the first time that I'd ever heard the voice of God. And that was kind of the one thing that really kept me going for years. And I got out of doing mental health for a while, and then we started Victims and Villains up about 8 years ago. And at the time, it was comic books, and then it became movies, and then now it's kind of blossomed into a variety of different things. And it's because there's a variety of people that are struggling with a whole mess of, whether it's depression or anxiety or, bipolar or self-mutilation, addiction. There's so much, and that runs the gambit when you're talking about mental health. And those individuals also run the gambit in terms of fandoms. And so that's why we've kind of taken on so many different avenues in terms of outreaches, because we just, at the end of the day, as an organization, we just want to remind people that they're not alone.
Yeah, exactly. Well, one thing that I want to do before we get any further is for anybody that's listening who feels like they need help, how can they get a hold of you guys?
So we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. All of our socials can be found at linktree.com, Linktree / Victims and Villains. But if you go to victimsandvillains.net /hope, that is our mental health resource library. So there's a little bit of mental health education at the top of that website, but there are individual resources below that are specifically for, things that are just kind of general mental health. And then it kind of has a little bit more niche, like veteran resources or LGBTQIA plus resources, or resources for bullying or domestic violence. There's a lot of those on those websites, on our website. Sorry.
Awesome. And I'll put all your links in the show notes. So anybody listening, you can just look down in the show notes, click on the link, and get the help that you need right now. So when you're working with people, kind of what's the first step usually?
So the first step is that we find, so I want to preface this by saying that all of us involved at Victims and Villains, including myself, we are not mental health professionals, but we're all people that have gone through mental health issues. And so usually the first thing that we end up doing is we just create general conversation on fandom, whether that's if we're at a convention and someone has a shirt on that, maybe is like Death Note, if you're an anime fan, or, Pokemon, since the voice of, Jesse just passed away. Day we're recording this, we will create conversation around that. What got you into that fandom? What's your favorite character? Do you have a favorite episode? Do you have a favorite issue? If it's a comic book, if it's a horror franchise, what's your favorite entry into the series? Why this series? There's a different there's a bunch of different kind of entry points, but we try and create a icebreaker that would create this sense of comfortability to allow us to kind of take that conversation a little bit further and open up and ask questions like, what's your mental health? What type of effect does something like this fandom have on your mental health? And kind of build the conversation from there, and really kind of understand where they're at, and then pair them with the right resources or the right education that would be most useful for them and their situation.
Okay, I love that a lot, because you welcome people in, and you have a whole community of people that everybody can talk to, and just feel very comfortable. So I like that approach a lot more than just getting right into it.
Thanks. Yeah, one of the things that because let's be honest, mental health is something that's extremely hard to talk about. We've had guests on our podcast before, and people will be like, "I don't feel qualified to talk about mental health, so I will talk about these fandoms and or whatever movie we're talking about, but keep mental health out of the conversation." And I just don't want to screw up, don't want to give anyone the wrong advice. And a lot of the time we're, for podcasting, for example, the platform of podcasting has been, talking to us, like, for example, like before me and you started recording, we're in midst of our Alien series right now. So we talked about Prometheus as we're counting down to Romulus, and there's a section in that, just as an example, but there's a quote from that movie that says, big things have small beginnings. And we compared that to things like, being 10 years sober, or contemplating suicide at one point, but then foregoing it. It's this practice of really setting up for yourself goals to make it to tomorrow or make it to the next day. You have to start small before you unlock those big achievements, and they're worth it. You really have to kind of buckle down and follow through with it.
Yeah, exactly. And that really hits home for me, because about 3.5, 4 years ago now, I was going through my own mental health issues, and I just did not like who I was. I didn't love myself at all. I mean, I had many thoughts of suicide, but luckily, it was like a light switch one night. I was like, something has to change, and it has to change like now. So that's when I started doing research and trying to figure out like what was going on. And it was actually a podcast that I started listening to that really turned everything around. And it's your mindset is everything. I totally believe that. And I had a very negative mindset my whole life. And once I started to focus on becoming more positive, I started to learn how to accept myself. Accept that I have cerebral palsy, and then eventually I learned how to love myself, and then now I'm out here helping others do the same. So yeah, I think it's really good to have a platform that people can just simply listen in. They don't have to talk to anyone. They can just listen in. So yeah,
absolutely. Like like from experience, like there are days that I get up and I still struggle with loving myself. Like I feel like self-love and self-care is not talked about nearly enough in the mental health journey, but also at the same time, it's extremely hard to get there and get in that mindset and prioritize that.
Yeah, I agree. It is really hard, and it's people think it just is going to happen overnight. They think that I'm going to just work on myself today and be good tomorrow, but it's not like that. You gotta constantly, every day, work on yourself and just improve and heal. It's a lot of healing that needs to happen.
Yeah, I agree. I have I've been going to therapy a lot more over the last year, and I've learned more about myself in the last year than I knew in the last 30 years. And I'm somebody that lives with myself every day, and it's one of those things that how the body processes trauma, and specifically like how our brain stores those memories is fascinating. And I think we don't truly have a firm understanding of how that is until we pick up behaviors or things that are just completely really bad, essentially, for us.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like we all grow up and we learn, bad habits, I guess, and then it kind of becomes who we are over time. Yeah. And it's like, a lot of us at some point we realize this isn't right, but then it takes a lot more effort to undo a lot of that trauma or the bad habits that we went through.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that like I hate kind of going through those pruning sessions, because it's really painful. You have to have a lot of like really uncomfortable conversations. You have to like kind of go through like a really ugly procedure of like realizing that like, oh, I thought that I was fine, and evidently like I have like A, B, and C. Like I'm fortunate enough to be married and going through this process. Like my wife has been a great support system and a great accountability system as well to really grow. And I've got a couple of friends that I talk to on a daily basis that also have really helped me grow past this prick that 10 years ago thought that he knew it all. I'm a lot more vulnerable and a lot more humble now because of the experiences of realizing lessons I've learned in therapy or in my self-healing journey.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I'm a lot different now than I was 3 years ago, and that's thanks to me realizing the negative traits that I had, and then also hiring professionals to help me through them. And I think it's very, very important to get go to therapy or hire a coach or do whatever, because it's hard as an individual to really dig deep in on yourself. But like, if you have a therapist or a coach, they can ask the right questions to just help you understand yourself a lot better and understand the things that you want to work on. And that's another thing that I like. It's like, like all the coaches I had, they didn't tell me you need to work on this. No, they just helped me realize the things that I didn't like about myself, and then I chose to work on those.
That's the other thing about that healing journey, is that, like you said, like you have to choose to heal. You have to choose to make yourself better. I feel like it's very, I think what's the state saying? It's like it takes more muscles in your face to frown than it does to smile. Yep. And it's so much easier to just kind of lie in that wallowing state and that self-pity state, and it takes real courage, it takes real strength, and it takes real vulnerability, honestly, to choose to get up and be happy, or to release anger, or find a way to deal with your anxiety and stop. Because the thing that no one talks about is that those states are like really comfortable to live in, because they kind of just become a normal part of your life. And it's just kind of like, as somebody that struggles with anxiety, it feels more comfortable for me to sit and be in that space and that headspace, and than it does to stop, reassess the situation, and do grounding exercises and breathing exercises to kind of realign my vision and see things from a more rational or logical standpoint.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of funny because I'm right there with you. Even though me and you know the things that can help us in a moment of stress, or we're down, having a bad day. We know all these things that we can do, but it's still hard to just simply do them. Like you said, you do breathing exercises, and man, they help a lot. But if you're in a state where you're just down or stressed or whatever, that's like the last thing that you want to do.
Yeah, and that's why I am such a champion for like a good community and people that you can put in your corner, whether that is somebody that you can call, vent, and work through it, or somebody that can just kind of call you out and just say, "Hey, man, just take 5 minutes. Let's do some deep breathing exercises. Let's kind of let's kind of reset our mind right now and focus on the things that we can control, focus on the things that are within our grasp right now." Because I know for me, a lot of the things that make me anxious are things that are outside of my control, and they're outside of the realm of possibilities for me to control. And so a lot of it is me placing faith into other people and the circumstances of whatever that makes me anxious, to say everything's going to end up working out. Even like you said, like 9 times out of 10 it will end up working out.
Yep. It will. You just gotta put in that little bit of effort, and like you said, reach out to someone who can help you out. And having a good support system is very, very important. Very important. So, what are some last words of wisdom that you could share?
I mean, that's such a loaded question, Nick.
I know. I love it though, because it makes people think, and the answer is always great.
I would say, honestly, just kind of keeping on with where the conversation has led us at this point is just, I feel like the key is going to be just to slow down, reassess, breathe deep, and think. Think long and think hard. I think a lot of it sounds like really cliche, but I feel like I am speaking from absolute experience. When I have quite a lot of anxiety attacks, that not quite anxiety attacks, but a lot of anxiety that hits at least once a week, where my heart rate flutters up to the point where it feels like it's hard to breathe. And I'm slowly working on a lot of those things, but the best thing that I could tell you to do would be to reassess, breathe deep, and rethink.
I agree 100%. 100%. So my slogan is, your abilities are infinite. What does that mean to you?
That means, to me, it means that I am capable of anything I set my mind to. I think it's really easy to be discouraged by things like, as a podcaster, like the size of your show or the size of your audience, but taking big leaps sometimes have yielded some of the biggest successes that I've had. And I think that, you are only as small as your mind is. And, even if those big swings don't line up for you, it may not be meant to be right then and there, and it may be meant to, that same exact thing may be meant to be in 5 years. So that's the answer. I would say you're only as small as you think.
I like that a lot. I really, really like that, because we all tend to hold ourselves back, and it's just like, think bigger and just get out there and live the best life you can, So
yeah.
So how once again, how can people reach out to you?
Sure. So you guys can find Victims and Villains. We are on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and if you guys are feeling generous and would like to support us, you guys can go to patreon.com/Victims and Villains, where all of that money goes towards our mental health education efforts. And then once again, our website is victimsandvillains.net.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Of course.
This has been really great, and I know it's going to help a lot of people. If you enjoyed this show, please go ahead and share it on your Instagram story and tag me in the Nick Yerhart. Also, go ahead and share it anywhere else that you see fit, because the only way that I can grow this is by you guys sharing it. I don't sell anything on here. I don't have any sponsors, so let's just get it out there by word of mouth and help more people. Alright, everyone, remember, your abilities are infinite.